Okay, it is now 5:32 on July 28th, 2021, and I'm going to open the meeting, a joint meeting between the Board of Selectmen, the Board of Health, and the Board of Assessors. We're now in session. First item on the agenda is coronavirus update.
Sure. So, unfortunately, I have good news and bad news. So the good news is our vaccination data. We're currently up to 82% of all of our residents have had one vaccine, and 78% have had two vaccines. The only group that is under 85% right now is the 12 to 15 age group. We have 62% of them fully vaccinated. And then the 20 to 29 age group, we have 78%. So other than that, everybody's in the high 80s. We even have 97% of the 65 to 74-year-olds and 90% of the 75 plus. So our vaccination rates are great. Unfortunately, the last couple of weeks, we've had 5 new cases. 4 of them have been on fully vaccinated people. So these are called breakthrough cases. It's really more challenging when we reach out to these people to try to do our contact tracing, because right now there's no mask mandates. People are in everywhere, right? We're free to go, and it's more and more difficult for people to try to come up with who possibly could have been their exposure. So and the only way I can tell if this is a variant, which I'm assuming it is if the state, when they send us the reports, if in that lab tab, they have done the sequencing of the lab test, which they're not doing on everybody. But safe to say that from the DPH meeting yesterday, they feel that over 55% of the new cases are all this Delta variant that we're hearing about. So we continue to reach out to these people. Some people are not, some people are aggravated, to tell you the truth. They've been through this before. They don't want to address it again. People are all, like I said, everybody's vaccinated. And so this is getting a little bit more, actually a little bit more difficult. So I did also meet with the school. The summer school nurse is running. We have a summer program at Johnson School, and they only have 1 more week. Next week is their last week, Monday through Thursday. Some of the kids are coming in with masks. Some of the kids are not wearing masks. There's no mandate right now for masks. So we can recommend it, but we cannot mandate it. I do think that probably in the fall, when school reopens, that mandate will be back in effect. So, like I say, good news, bad news, and there's no news about a vaccine right now for the fall, a booster. We don't have that information, and they're working right now, Pfizer and Moderna, to try to get a vaccine for the age group under 12. They said yesterday they think hopefully by the end of fall. So I don't know, what does that mean, November? Which still means that the kids will be returning to school without the vaccine. So here we are again. The numbers came out today for the last 2 weeks. All of the communities that had very low numbers, we can see the numbers all going up just across everywhere. So that's all I have.
Debbie, will mask be a requirement?
I mean, the way everything's going, I would think yes. I know that I myself started last weekend putting my mask back on in the grocery store.
Yeah,
I saw about half the people there that did have masks on. I'm thinking now even about, inside gatherings because, it's just the difference with this variant is, as we learned yesterday, the viral load, which they refer to it as, is much higher in people that have it. So that's why it's so much more transmissible than the first virus that we were dealing with. So it's easier if you're in contact with somebody with this Delta variant, it's easier for them to spread it and obviously for you to pick it up.
on the news last night, they said that there was even a third variant lurking out there.
Right, there is. There is.
is.
So I guess COVID, I was hoping it would stay away for the summer and we wouldn't have to be thinking about this until the fall flu season. But, we're just heading into August and already we're seeing all the numbers starting to go up.
Has the state Department of Public Health made any mention regarding, future mask guidance?
There's talk, everyone is talking about it, but nobody has really come out with that mandate yet, to make it mandatory. I did get, it's interesting. I know he talked to you, Tony, a call from the item today, and they wanted to know, what is Nahant doing about the mask mandate? I wanted to say, I'm not Dr. Fauci. I can't, make that decision, but so I think it's on everybody's minds, and.
Well, I got the same question. I said, as far as I understand, there isn't a mask mandate. It's the CDC had put a tweet out with some guidance.
Right.
It's very far from a mandate.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see it coming back, though.
But for the Board of Selectmen / Board of Health, Deb, myself, I know Dan's on the email chain too, and so is John Coulon. We will stay, abreast with the DPH and anything from the federal government regarding guidance or future mandates, and we will push those to you, and educate our residents as much as possible about what's going on out there. I think if anything, our residents proved this past year that they were paying attention to a lot of the things that we were saying and the guidance, and they were following that, and we were lucky not to have a lot of positive cases because of that. So we're going to follow the same, probably follow the same pattern as we get that guidance from the state and from the feds. We'll pass it on to you, and we'll continue to educate the town on what's out there and what they should be considering. But I haven't heard either. I was curious if you had heard, Deb, but I haven't heard either through my manager groups, of any type of mandate in the near future.
Right.
All right.
Right. Yeah. Sorry to hear that infections are climbing, especially these breakthrough cases. It's discouraging. We sort of thought we were in the clear if we were vaccinated, but moving on. So next is opening comments. The compost area is open on Wednesdays and Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. You do need a 2021 resident sticker. Leaves and other yard waste must be in biodegradable bags or no bags. No plastic bags will be accepted. Recycling for white metal and white goods, TVs, computers is the last Saturday of each month, which must be this Saturday, from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. behind the DPW garage. Fees may apply. Checks only, no cash. Visit nahant.org for information and accepted materials. The trash bills are expected to be mailed out the first week of August. The Friends of the Library book sale will be this Saturday, July 31st, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. with a rain date of Sunday, August 1st. This will be held outside the library on Pleasant Street and Central Street. Those streets will be partially blocked off for the sale. The town is seeking members to serve on a short-term rental study committee. Letters of interest can be emailed to ktaylor@nahant.org. That's KTAYLOR@nahant.org. This is was Article 28 on the 2021 town warrant. Was passed during town meeting to create this committee. The committee will be a 5-member short-term rental bylaw advisory committee consisting of the building inspector, the health agent, 1 member of the planning board, and 2 Nahant citizens appointed by the town administrator. The purpose
Can that be expanded to include Airbnbs and accessory dwellings? Mark mentioned accessory dwellings the last meeting. Or is that all
it would
separate?
include Airbnbs. It would include Airbnbs. I think if we want to do one on accessory dwellings, that would be a different committee.
That's right, Mr. Chair. Those are apples and oranges. They're not the same thing.
Mr. Chair, yeah, I would agree with you. And perhaps we can schedule a meeting, a joint meeting with the planning board to discuss the accessory dwelling unit zoning bylaw change.
That sounds like a good idea. So we'll plan for that. Just to complete this thought, the purpose of this committee is to develop draft bylaws regulating short-term rentals pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 64G, Section 14 and 2. Second purpose, to present those draft bylaws at a future town meeting or take any other action relative thereto. Said committee shall dissolve on June 30th, 2024, or upon completion of tasks 1 and 2. So hopefully we can have those draft bylaws in advance of next year's town meeting. That should be the goal. If you are interested, please submit your letter of interest to ktaylor@nahant.org.
Dan, the language, is pretty clear about how many citizens are appointed on top of the health agent, building inspector, and planning board member. But I've already received quite a few people, have reached out asking about this. So, can we add more residents to this committee, or even maybe if they don't have voting power, but maybe they have like a some type of connection to the committee?
Yeah, the committee has to be was made up in the vote at town meeting. The committee has to be made up as described in the vote at town meeting. That doesn't mean that other folks can't come and participate. They won't be able to vote, of course, but they can certainly come participate and lend their expertise and experience.
I assumed all these meetings would be, open meeting law.
Absolutely. This is basically a body of the town meeting, so they're all subject to the open meeting laws.
Yep. So anybody could show up at any of these open meetings and.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Couple other items. There's a lot of concern about coyotes. I think past investigations into this have resulted in sort of the answer that we can't do a lot about it. But we're taking another look. The state does have approved problem animal control officers, and these need to be people that are certified by the state in coyotes specifically. I called the closest one with coyote certification today. Happens to be in Peabody. Talked to him for a while. He wasn't terribly encouraging, but it sounds like it's a possibility. The next step is to talk to the Department of Fisheries and Wildlife. So I'm going to try to give them a call tomorrow, and we'll see where that leads. But that's the status from my perspective on the coyote situation.
Can I just add to that, the thing to look at here is the future of what happens with these when they're procreating all over the place. Every time I talk to somebody, they can identify a den. And I think that's going to happen no matter where they're located. But I think having a town 1 square mile creates its own problem. And I don't know how we fix it, but I think we, as you just said, we find some way to at least address it.
Yeah, understood. And to sort of state the obvious or reinforce one of the points that this problem animal control officer pointed out, the explosion in the rabbit population is really resulting in coyote population growth in other towns as well. So he's seeing the same thing in his town of Peabody and in other neighboring towns. So even though we're unique in our geography, we're not completely unique in facing this issue. So more to come on that. We'll see with just where discussions with the state.
Just one more thing, Josh. I think you did a good job explaining some of the constraints the town is faced with. Tony and I had a brief conversation today. Maybe, it's not as if we're ignoring the problem. It's not as if we're not aware of the issues. But as, Tony explained to me today, and I'm aware of it myself, is that, much of this is controlled by Mass General law, and it's not controlled by town ordinances or something that the animal control officer can do on his or her own. I know Tony or Dan, if you want to add any more to that.
I put together a memo for Tony back in October of 2020 outlining a lot of the things that we had to consider. And I just sent it to Josh. So Josh, that should be your inbox in any minute. The one thing is you can't shoot them because there's a firearm bylaw for other reasons, but at least there's a firearm bylaw here in Nahant. Number two, in researching the issue, if you take one away, another one's going to take its place. So eradicating the haunt of the coyotes will do nothing in the long term, or even in the long short term for that matter. They're just going to come back, or other ones will take the place. The answer is to avoid inviting them, so to speak, and as I think Gene was getting to, maybe even destroying their habitat so they would be forced to leave. But we're limited in what we can do, unless of course it becomes a public health issue, and that's a different matter. But at this point, my understanding is that pets have been the victims exclusively.
Well, and I'll just add to that, we haven't had any case reported to us of a domestic animal incident with the coyote while, being tended by its owner on leash. We've had no incident of aggressive behavior on a human. So, and I know that the coyotes are very casual and, will gingerly walk down the street or by you as you're walking down the street or playing golf or, cut through your yard. Again, according to state rules and regs, that's not aggressive behavior and doesn't qualify as a public safety issue. But I completely empathize. I don't have a dog, but I certainly, feel for those who do or cats or, and can't let them out in the backyard without having to be there watching and being nervous about it. I completely empathize with that. And I agree that, the state rules and regs are reactive instead of proactive. But unfortunately, we don't hold the pen on it, and we have to follow the state state law. And, the best thing to do is to follow the guidance of the experts. So interested, Josh, I'd love to hear what you find out after you speak with the state tomorrow.
I'd like to chime in for a minute on this. Mark, if you recall back in 2010, when I first got the chief's job, we went through this same scenario. The town was what we called inundated with coyotes. I brought somebody in from Mass Wildlife into town hall, a woman named Laura Huddick. She actually calmed everybody down in reference to the coyotes and the coyotes being in town. And her words were, if they leave town, if we take the packs that are in town, we call them, the coyotes that are in town, within 6 months, they'll be back here. We'll never be able to get rid of them. They'll constantly come back, and coyotes will come into the town and find a home here. So it's gonna be a difficult solution to this problem.
Where's my cabbage when we need them, Chief?
Yeah, right. Yeah, no comment. But it was a tough situation back then, and we got through it without anybody getting harmed. Obviously it's on everybody's minds. We don't want to see these animals get aggressive towards animals or humans. So, but we just got to keep an eye on them and pay attention to the guidelines and go from there. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Couple other things. There's a sailing program fundraiser, August 4th. I'm not sure where that's publicized yet, but hopefully that's something many people can participate in at the wharf on the 4th. And I think the open space survey is closed as of yesterday. Not sure where we wound up on a number of surveys completed, but I know a couple weeks ago we were getting pretty good, pretty high number of respondents. So that's good news. Gene or Mark, do you have anything else? Any new opening comments?
No, I'm all set.
Just when I talked with Tony about this during the week, and I think I'll throw it back on Tony, and that's the music that we're hearing at night, anywhere from 10 o'clock till 3 o'clock in the morning, coming across the causeway. As I've talked to people, that apparently there's not much we can do about it, but it is a nuisance, particularly for those in Little Nahant.
I'll speak on that as well, Tony. It's not coming from the Nahant. Sometimes it's coming from a boat that's out in the water. The officers have investigated. There's no way for us to get out there. The other issues, it's coming across the water from over in Lynn. And if the residents contact Lynn directly, they call Lynn directly, they'll send a cruiser over there to take care of the problem. When they can get there, they're very busy. They'll take the complaint as soon as they can get over there. They know in most cases where it's coming from. So the residents can call 595-2000, Lynn PD, Lynn, give them the complaint, and they'll send a car over. And I think it's been behind Walmart. There's one other location over down at the boat ramp over there on Blossom Street Extension. So those are the two locations that we think the music's coming from. So that's the best way we can handle it. It's not our jurisdiction to get down there. We can just pass along the message for them to shut it down. And if it's in the water, it's difficult for us to reach.
Yeah, no, I just think we needed to let people know we recognize it. And as you said, Chief, there's very little we can do about it. But those speakers have to be the size of a trailer truck.
Yeah, Jeannie, for somebody that worked midnights for 20 years, you'd be surprised what comes across that water at night sitting, when it's quiet over here, it skips right across no matter what's going on. You can hear it. So
Yeah.
we'll do the best we can. If the residents call us, we try to help them out as well. But Lynn's been pretty good about sending cruises down there to take care of the problem.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I had a couple other ones that didn't make the list, if you don't mind.
Yes, please.
One, the Planning board is looking to add associate members, and I'd like to announce that they will be accepting letters of interest. We will post that tomorrow on our website and on Facebook, and we will hope to vote at the next Board of Selectmen meeting, which I believe is planned to be
18.
18th, right? So what we'll do is we'll post tomorrow. We'll ask folks if they're interested in becoming associate members, and what the role of associate members is. We'll put that in the posting, and it'll get posted tomorrow. And letters of interest will be due by the 11th, and those can be sent to Dan Berman. His email will be on there, the chairman of the planning board. They could also be sent to Kristen Taylor, our administrative assistant, and we vote on that similar like we'll be voting on vacant elected positions, similar to what we're doing tonight with the Board of Assessors. So we'll post that tomorrow. I also wanted to, mention, while we have Chief Dwyer on the call here, pretty sad seeing those empty shelves behind him. He is, Friday, as for those of you that were on earlier, or been paying attention, Friday is Chief Dwyer's last day as the chief. We will do a swearing in of Chief Furlong at 12 o'clock here in the town hall for anyone that wants to come in, and we'll be saying our goodbyes to Chief Dwyer. I just want to thank him personally here on this call for, being such a help to me and for being dedicated to town for so many years. Truly gonna miss him, and just want to thank you, Chief. His brother also, Michael, has been a reserve officer for 21 years. So he's also retiring, and again, 21 years helping out the town of Nahant, and doing a tremendous job the entire time. So I want to thank both of them for all their years dedicated to the town.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Chief. I'm out of town Friday, so I won't be able to be in attendance when Tim gets sworn in, but
I understand.
thank you once again.
Thank you again.
All right, moving on to new business. The first item is to approve the appointment of Nahant full-time police officer.
I move that Nahant to approve the appointment of Heather Larry as a Nahant full-time police officer effective July 29th, 2021.
A second.
Discussion. Another chance for you to chime in, Chief.
Sure. Heather Leary, I hired her back in 2019 as a police matron. We were looking for matrons. She came aboard. She lives in town. She lives on Irving Way in the town of Nahant. She's been over here for quite a few years. Heather came to me about a matron's position, so we hired her as a matron. And then, I don't know, sometime later, within that year, she asked if she could become a police reserve. So we sent her off to a reserve police academy, which she attended and successfully graduated from, to become a reserve. So over the last few years, she's been helping us out as a reserve police officer, working weekends and filling on shifts here and there. And her interest to become a full-time police department, she, police officer, came into my office one day and she said, I'd like to go full-time. We were very interested in hiring her, and it just worked out where Timmy was being promoted. It opens up a position in the patrol ranks, and it allows us to hire a full-time officer. Heather is the first full-time female officer for the Nahant Police Department that I know of, and we're very excited to have her on board. The officers are excited to have her on board, and Heather comes to us with 6 years of experience as a dispatcher for Revere and Winthrop. So she's been in a very busy community doing that. She's a supervisor with them currently. She's going to resign as soon as she's appointed. Within the next 2 weeks, she'd be on the street. She's all ready to go to the academy. We have an academy date for, I believe, sometime in December or January, within them 2 months. That it hasn't really nailed down the date. They haven't posted it, but that's when we think it's coming up. So she's all ready to go to the academy, and she's coming on with us for the next 6 months to fill Timmy's vacancy, moving up to chief. And I'm glad to everybody's looking forward to her coming aboard. And I want to thank the Board of Selectmen and Tony for the support on this one. Thank you, and all of them.
Yeah, perfect timing. And it's nice that you can hire a known entity, and she's already proven herself. So great news.
Yep. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Is she on the call? I don't see her, but I don't know if she called in.
Heather, you on?
Oh,
Yes, she is.
there she
Yep,
is.
I'm here. Hi, how are you?
Congratulations.
I just want to thank everybody for this opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for stepping up.
Thank you, Heather. We're excited, thrilled to have you join the force. Obviously, as our first full-time female officer, it has even more meaning, and we're grateful for you to be to have spent so much time with the department so far, and excited to bring you on board as a full-time officer. So thank you.
I thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Can't wait
Heather.
to start. I'm ready to go.
All right. Any more discussion? Hearing and seeing none. Roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I.
Josh Antrim, aye. It's unanimous. Congratulations, Heather.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. We have some meeting minutes to approve. We have a motion on those.
I'll go ahead. I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the Board of Selectmen meeting minutes from January 9th, 2021,
June 9th.
June 9th, 2021.
Second,
Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. Roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I.
Josh Antrim, aye.
I move that the Nahant Board of Selectmen vote to approve the Board of Selectmen minute meeting from June 30th, 2021.
Second,
Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. Roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I.
Josh Antrim, aye. Vote.
I move that the Nahant Board of Selectmen vote to appoint Vice Chairman Eugene Canty as the interim chairman of the Board of Selectmen effective July 29th, 2021.
Can I second that?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Okay, second.
Okay, discussion. I'm going to be out of the country from tomorrow until August 16th. So that's why we're voting to appoint Gene as interim chairman.
It's like General Haig.
Yeah. Any other discussion? Hearing and seeing none, roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I.
Josh Antrim, aye. We have an event request for swim.
Want to take that, Gene?
Yes, sure. I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the event request for the swim annual autumn beach cleanup, September 12th, 2021, from 11 to 2 p.m.
Seconded?
Discussion. So the volunteers will meet at the Lowlands parking lot, sign in and pick up gloves and bags and cross over to Short Beach or Doggy Beach or wherever else perhaps they are assigned. Any other discussion on this event?
Yeah, can I ask one question? Do we, as a rule, clean Doggy Beach?
No, like, do we rake it? No. Does our beaches and barrels crew go down there and pick trash up off of it? Yes. we don't have equipment access. So
Yeah, right.
we don't rake it.
Okay, thanks.
Any other discussion? Hearing and seeing none, roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen, aye.
Josh Pepper, aye. The next item is vote to approve the FY22 trash rate.
I
Mark?
move that, Board of Selectmen vote to approve the 2022 trash rates and abatements as outlined in the document titled Town of Nahant Trash Rates and Abatements 2022.
Second.
Discussion. Tony, are you able to give us a brief overview here?
Yeah, and Dan Script too. He's been involved. Our assessor, Sheila Hamilton and Mary Lowe from DPW office have been working tirelessly to get this squared away. We had, after last year's change in the distribution, we had a number of folks respond to the bill saying, you know, I'm actually a single family home, or I'm actually a multifamily home, or I should be charged this way, or applied for abatements. So we were able to kind of pre-factor those changes in, which then, you know, changes a little bit on how the total cost is distributed amongst the type of accounts that we have. This year's trash bill, there is an increase for a residential single family unit. It's $360. You know, we're still under that $1 a day threshold, which is good, and that is cheap compared to other towns with having, you know, zero limit on trash. But it is an increase compared to the past year. You know, as we've talked about, it's mostly due to the increase in costs of disposing of trash, which is a national issue. We also have increased, we were able to increase our some of our abatement amounts. Like, for instance, our private trash hauler abatement went up from, I think, 68% to 80%. So providing a little bit more of a discount for those that don't actually use curbside collection, they still contribute to the total cost, because our enterprise account doesn't only pay for waste management to come and collect curbside. It also pays for the cleanliness, you know, picking up trash at our beaches and parks. It's our compost site, you know, metal recycling, all other related items. Dan, did I miss anything, or would you want to add?
That was a pretty good sum up. We did add an abatement for compost collection service that folks have around town. So there's an addition to that. So that's helpful. And
Thank you for mentioning that. That's a big item. So that came in, Gene, I think you brought that up at a previous Board of Selectmen meeting, and that came in through SWIM. So we have to figure out how we're going to put this on the website, but essentially, if you enroll in like Black Earth Compost and you provide that contract to the town, you will be eligible for a $20. Do we do $20, Dan?
Yeah, it was 20.
A $20 discount to your trash bill.
So the bill's actually going down for those folks this year.
Yeah, that's new. That's a new item for us. So trying to incentivize composting.
And one last thing, Tony, one of the reasons for the increase is that the contract of weight services was about 40 to 50,000 more than it was during the last term, due to the issues you mentioned earlier. But we're getting better rates as we go along, so hopefully that number will improve.
Yeah, and we signed a 5-year contract that provides us the option to renegotiate should we switch over to automated trash collection service, which there's some cost savings available there. And as we've been talking about for quite some time now, the automated collection for recycling will start in September. I think the barrels are being distributed at the end of August. So, we hopefully will be able to either keep this cost level or potentially decrease in the future years. And but yeah, that's all I have.
All right, thanks for that. Any other discussion?
Just, Tony, I think I mentioned before, you may be doing it. If you could have Mary Lowell make sure that we're getting the sort of the week, at least the monthly tipping, the weights for trash and recycling from Waste Management. I'd like to look at that over the last year or so.
I think that just started, right? So that's part of the new contract.
That's right.
So I don't know if we've gotten like our first months.
I'll send Ed Pasek an email tonight.
But I'm sure if we asked them for like a month by month report of last year, I'm sure they could produce that for us.
I think they're required to by law, but to keep that information. But yeah, I'd like to look at it over the last year if they have it.
Okay.
How does that work? Do they weigh those trucks in?
Yes.
That's interesting.
All right, if there's no further discussion, roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I.
Josh Antrim, aye. Ongoing business, Comcast contract renewal. This is a public hearing, and I think I see Mr. Summers on the call.
Yes, I'm here.
So,
Dan, do we need a motion to open the hearing?
No, it's a continued from last time, so we're still going strong. We can just start by inviting any testimony from anyone that might want to say something, and then we can hear from Mr.
Maybe we could start with Jay introducing himself.
We can do that.
Sure. My name is Jay Summers, and I am the Senior Manager for Government Affairs for the town of Nahant. I'd just like to say that Comcast looks forward to renewing this license in the town so we can continue to provide all the products and services we currently provide. Dan had asked me a couple of things to talk about, and one of them is the section in the draft renewal is section 3.3 and 3.4. I don't know what happened. It shouldn't have been deleted. That'll be kept in the license. So that will remain there. The other thing was in the section for capital access support. I put in there the same amount that was in the last license, which was $45,000 over a 10-year period. And if you take that and if it's paid out on an annual basis, that's $4,500 per year. And it amounts to about 48 cents passed through to the subscriber on their bill. That number could go up or down depending on our subscriber numbers. So if the cable TV subscriber number goes down, the rate would go up. If it goes up, the rate would go down. So it's pretty simple how it's calculated. And right now I am open to questions from the board.
I can address one issue, Mr. Summers. Can you talk about the senior discount? You sent me a letter recently about that. Can you explain to the board how that might affect?
Yeah, there's a discount to eligible senior citizens in town to a digital starter offering, and they have to qualify. I haven't got the letter in front of me, but they have to qualify for certain things, and then once their qualification is accepted, there's a $2 discount per month.
And what is a digital starter?
There's probably I'll get to the exact number for you, Dan, but that's our intro offering on our cable TV. there's probably 65 to 75 channels on it. Carries all your local broadcast channels, and it'll carry things like the Weather Channel and other channels like that. And that's what Digital Starter is.
Can you tell the board about the franchise fees and how you calculate those? And I think there was a major decision from the FTC that sort of changed that a little bit over the past few years.
Well, I don't know of any change in that franchise fee, but the franchise fee is calculated by a percentage that the town agrees upon, and it can be anywhere between 1% and 5%. Then what happens is that we, in a quarterly basis, we will gather up all the total revenues in cable TV only. It does not include the other services we offer in town. For instance, like, cellular service, home security service, and broadband service. So it's just cable TV service. And then we add that together, and then we'll apply the percentage to the gross revenues of those 3 months in the quarter, and then applies that, and then we calculate what it is, and then we send the town a check, or I think it may go into direct deposit, and then there's followed up with an accounting sheet of how the calculation is derived.
And one last thing, we've had some service interruptions. Most recently, I think it was 2 days ago, and ironically, during the first iteration of this hearing, Comcast was actually down for that period.
Yeah.
Can you address that to the folks that might be listening?
Yeah, the only one I'm aware of is the one that happened on June the 30th. And as we all know, it's been a type of a summer here on the North Shore that it's been a lot of humid weather, and then it results in thunders and lightning storms. So at that particular time, it was a tree and wind damage to a location that we determined was on 1 Atlantic Terrace in Lynn, and that's where the fiber is fed into the town of Nahant. So it affected 4 nodes that went down. We received the alert around 5 p.m. and service was restored at 8 p.m. So once our crews were dispatched, they were able to locate the problem and they got it fixed. And then they'll go out and they'll test all the nodes to make sure they're operating. And then service has been restored. The other one, as you said, was it yesterday, Dan? I'll get information on that for you.
It was yesterday or the day before. It was right around there, though.
So it was either July the 27th or the 26th.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Okay. I'll find out what the issue was there as well.
Okay, I'll pass that along to the board.
Okay.
Mr. Summers, that fee structure calculation process, is that where that $45,000 number comes?
No, the $45,000 is separate from the franchise fee. $45 is a capital. We call it a capital grant. And then what will happen is that if you agree to the $45,000, then we will, in the license agreement, we'll just add a section where it'll describe the payment, how the payment will be laid out. So it'll be like whatever say Dan and I were talking, whatever we agree on, that'll be the date that you receive the first check, and then each subsequent check received on that timeline for the next 9 years or 10 years after that.
Do we know how that fee compares to the last contract?
It's the same amount that was there in the last contract. It was $45,000 in the last contract. So I put that back in.
We should also keep in mind that Verizon's contract is coming up in about a year and a month or two. And they match that essentially. So it's PEG that's coming from Comcast to some degree, and also Verizon, because they also contribute pursuant to their agreement.
So that's based on a formula, or that's just a negotiated amount?
The percentage is negotiated. Well, I might say negotiated. It's basically, as I said earlier, the town has has the right to either have no franchise fee, or they can accept a franchise fee between 1% and 5%, and the limit is 5%.
I think, Tony, were you talking about the PEG capital funding, or were you talking about the franchise?
The PEG.
Yeah, the PEG. I think, Jay, the question, I'm sorry, Mr. Summers, the question was, is the PEG negotiable, or is that something that's statutory? I believe it's negotiable.
It's negotiable.
Yeah. And that's something we'll work out after, if and when the board approves the renewal. Jay and Tony and I will all work out the actual agreement, and that'll be ready for signature, probably by the 18th.
So, yeah, so it's entirely up to the board to decide what they would like to have for the capital. And then if they come out with a figure that's higher than the one, then we can negotiate that. If it stays the same, it really doesn't need to be negotiated.
Okay.
And I have spoken to Pedro about, he runs the PEG, of course, our PEG channel. And Tony, and I know Tony and Pedro have had some communication too, so we'll work with that moving forward.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds good. I mean, we essentially use it as a pass-through in order to do, to provide, for the public, the local channel, and all those costs are going up on our side too. So we'll just handle that, I guess. We'll have a conversation with Jay. The other thing, Jay, I wanted to ask you is, like, a lot of the stuff that I hear about is more so on your customer call center, like the quality of service that's provided to your customers here in Nahant, and like being able to get through to somebody on the phone, and when they're having issues with. Do you guys have like do you have any data on that? Do you have any reviews or info about, from your end, like what you're hearing about customer service quality for Nahant?
It does come up from time to time about customer quality, customer service. We spend a lot of time and a lot of energy and money is put behind to make it a more seamless approach to the subscriber. Now, with that said, if you get a complaint that comes in to town hall, please forward it to me, and then I have a way to have it immediately addressed. And that the subscriber, if the subscriber happens to feel that their needs haven't been taken care of, and there's a type of service that keeps going out or something, just forward that to me and I'll take care of it from there. And then I'll notify you once the problem has been resolved.
That's great. Thank you.
So, I mean, and as I said, I am the conduit, for your town hall, for the selectmen, if they have a problem, and this goes out to the board of selectmen as well. If you happen to be, you're in town, you're doing some things, and a resident comes up and starts to complain, feel free to just email me that and I will address it.
Yeah, that's great. That provides us, because right up until, that, I've kind of felt like I, didn't have an option to provide them. So that's great. Thank you, Jay.
Yep.
And since this is a public hearing, are there any people could put questions in the chat if they'd like to ask a question or make a comment?
Yeah, now is the time. Once we get to public comment, it'll be a little late at that point because you already have your vote taken.
So if anybody is on the call, just hit, you have the ability to unmute yourself if you have any issues with Comcast that you want us to address. I don't have anything in the chat.
Okay. So
one thing, Tony, you should have in the chat is I emailed you the motion
Yeah.
that we would make.
Yep. Okay, so I'll read it, and if Selectman Cullinan, if you want to just so move it afterwards. The motion here is that I move that the Board of Selectmen approve Comcast application for contract renewal pending final legal review and approval of Comcast cable television license.
And I'll elaborate on that a little bit, Tony. What that means is I'll look at it, we'll make sure you and I are on the same page. And then, of course, the selectmen will have to sign, if they so vote, they will sign that. So nothing will happen until the selectmen actually sign the agreement. So this gets us a step closer to that.
Seconded?
Any discussion on that motion? I guess I'll just say, just reinforce what was just stated, that we will have the opportunity to negotiate some of these points following this vote, right? So
That's right.
that's all I had. Ian or Mark, anything else to add?
Nothing here.
All right. Roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen, aye.
Josh Antrim, aye. The next item on the agenda is a joint vote with the Board of Assessors to fill the vacancy on the Board of Assessors.
Thanks a lot. I'm going to jump off.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank
Jeff.
you, Mr. Summers.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I move that the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Assessors nominate Cameron Merrill for the open seat on the Board of Assessors.
Second?
Any discussion? I guess I'll just say that the Board of Assessors has two members right now and one open seat. And we have received one interested candidate. We have his resume, has some good experience in real estate as well as being an attorney. And the seat has to be filled, any vacancy of an elected office, with the exception of the Board of Selectmen, shall be filled by a majority vote of the Board of Selectmen and the remaining members of the office or board or committee. The appointment shall be effective only until the next election of town officials, at which time the vacancy shall be filled by ballot for the unexpired term of the previously vacant office. So in other words, this appointment would go until April, at which time the person would either run or not run.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So typically what we do here is the Board of Selectmen and the current members of the Board of Assessors will each vote to nominate someone or someones to be up for the vote, which will come second. And then I think in here it says by alphabetical, but typically the practice we follow is that we let the, in this case, Board of Assessors make their vote first, and then the Board of Selectmen after either one or multiple candidates have been nominated. So you guys, there's a motion on the floor for Merrill to be
Cameron Merrill.
Aaron Merrill. Is that the only candidate being nominated?
I believe so.
All right, so while we're in discussion here, I don't know if any member of the Board of Assessors want to say anything about, the seat that we're appointing to.
Well, I'd just like to say that I know Cam personally and think highly of him, and also was really pleased to find out that he was interested in being on the board. I think his background and interest will really serve us well, and we really need to fill this position. because we are not a complete board right now.
Okay, thanks for that, and we certainly appreciate it. Cameron, Merrill stepping forward, so,
Got a great resume.
yeah.
All right, so the Board of Selectmen can vote on the motion to nominate, and then I would have, Assessor Hunt and Sherber also vote to nominate Cameron, and then, you have a vote to appoint.
Okay, roll call vote on the nomination.
Mark Cullen and I.
Gene Canty, aye.
Josh Hedrum,
David Hunt, aye.
Catherine Sherber, aye.
All right, so now that you have, a candidate nominated to be voted by a joint vote of the Selectmen and the Assessors, now a motion to appoint.
Should I make that motion, Tony?
Yes.
I
Or
move-
actually, why don't we let, a member of the Board of Assessors make the motion?
That's good.
So I move that we appoint Cam Merrill as member of the Board of Assessors.
I'll second that.
Now I guess a roll call vote, I suppose, by the Board of Assessors.
Starting with the Board of Assessors, yep.
David Hunt, aye.
Catherine Sherber, aye.
Gene
Mark.
Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I.
Josh Hedrum,
Thanks, David. Thanks, Kiki.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is preserving East Point. We have not had any recent communication in the last 2 weeks in terms of negotiating a solution. I will remind people that there's a Conservation Commission meeting at 7:30 tonight at Town Hall. That's actually why Board of Selectmen are meeting early tonight to avoid conflicting with that Concom meeting. So if you're interested, you can attend that meeting in person at Town Hall. There is no Zoom meeting, but it will be on cable TV. Gene or Mark, do you have anything else to add?
No, I know that we have on our agenda executive session tonight, and it was questionable whether we were going to do that. I would like to do that, I think, just very quickly, Mr. Chairman, if we could.
Yes, we'll definitely do that. I want to update you
Right.
on a discussion we had last week with Town Council.
But that's the reason. I know that you've been meeting and you haven't been able to share that with Gene or I, so I'd like to get brought up to date on that.
Hey, Josh, just one last thing. I noticed, everybody notices that what's going on downtown, as we'll call it downtown, with some of the construction and the renovations, remodeling. I can recall Richie Lombard for years wanting to take and change the site down there so that it would put the electric lines underground and put gas lights or something similar to gas lights along the front, just to dress it up. Is that something we'll look at down the road? I mean, there's a lot of money going into making that look a lot nicer, and I'm sure we can get some of the other property owners to do the same thing and really bring that, give it kind of a downtown village look.
Yeah,
Tony, is that anything we're looking at?
Coincidentally, we talked about it today. Obviously, we've been, property owner down there who owns, the building where Brett Henry is, planning board member, Steve Viviano. And the house, the cottage right next to it on the corner, and then also the building that, Turnstone Market, we just had the ribbon cutting in. Has, as you mentioned, undergone, has had all those buildings, renovated, and they look great.
Yeah,
On the town side, there's some work to be done. And one of the things, as you mentioned, is, decorative lighting and burying the telecommunication cables there. We need a price from National Grid to do that. There's a couple different ways to pay for it. Town meeting can borrow for the total cost of that project. The total cost of that project can be distributed amongst all ratepayers in the town, or a neighborhood, can pay for the cost of it. So we don't know what the price would be. I think we're all in favor of doing the project, but, it comes down to really like how much would it cost? If it, it could, is it under $100,000, or is it more like a couple $100,000 or more? So that's really what it comes down to. Certainly then, buying new poles and decorative lighting is another cost, but definitely something that we, want to explore.
great.
I'm actually, one part of my report, is I'll be meeting with Congressman Moulton and his staff in August. We had submitted, as you all know, we submitted a grant application to his office of federal funds to help with the Short Beach renourishment project and resiliency project. And part of that is, when I have him come out, I'm going to talk to him about, that downtown area and improvements that we might have in our mind, and looking for maybe potential funding to help with that. So,
Great.
it's definitely on the radar.
Yeah, Gene, thanks for bringing that up. And yeah, Tony, let's definitely get a quote for that work. So it's really from Spring Road all the way up to Valley Road, ideally, right? That stretch is the only stretch on the Nahant Road, except for from at Little Nahant, across from the bank to Little Nahant Road. Those two stretches are the only stretches on the Nahant Road that have above ground wire. So let's get a quote on both of those stretches and see where that leads us.
There's one other section on the high road that has above road.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, right across the street from you.
Oh.
And me.
I never even saw those. Mine comes up Ocean Street.
Yeah. The only telephone pole on the high road is right by that mailbox. I don't know why it's there, but it is. And I'm fed off it, so I'm not underground. I don't know if you
Yeah.
are.
No, I'm not underground. Yeah, so it's fed from, both of us are fed from Ocean Street, not wires running down the Nahant Road. Right.
Hey, one other thing for another night. Why do we have such terrible cell phone reception at the top in the Nahant? Everybody complains about it.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. We'll have to revisit it another night and talk, get an answer from the cell phone providers on that.
Good idea.
Yeah. I mean, I know in my case, I know exactly where I'll lose my signal typically. I assume it's a line of sight issue, but
I know your cell phone provider should have an option of like a booster that you can purchase that are fairly cheap and install in your home to help with improving the service in the area. We bought like 4 of them for town hall because the service is so bad in here, but it's only on the Verizon side.
Well, who do we have on that pole behind the police station?
All of them. T-Mobile, well, if they're still considered T-Mobile, but Sprint, Verizon.
Huh.
All right, so are we in the town administrator's report now?
We are officially now in the town administrator's report.
So moving, following the theme of telecommunications, I'm happy to announce that through our state legislators, Senator Crichton and Rep. Capano, we're able to secure a $75,000 earmark out of the state's budget for a telecom project that will connect all of our town buildings with fiber cable. Right now, police and fire are connected by fiber. This project would extend, fire to DPW, DPW to the school, and then police to town hall and town hall to library. It opens the door to a number of possibilities. It's going to help tremendously with the police radio project that we're working on as well. But it also opens a possibility for us to, distribute internet amongst all of our departments, all of our town buildings on our own instead of having multiple different accounts. So it's it will end up providing some cost savings for the town as well as opens up the ability for improved cybersecurity on the town side and phone service. So very pleased and happy that we were able to get that grant and hoping to get that job done soon. A lot of work going on at Spring Road Basketball Court right now. We're, trying to keep the momentum going with all the work we did down the Compost site before the Wall That Heals came to town. We've completed some much needed vegetation removal and tree removal. We have the basketball court is being paved, I think, tomorrow. And then it should be painted and new hoops installed by the end of August. And we're hoping to install fence and some additional visual barrier trees in the next month as well. So Spring Road Basketball Court is moving right along. And hopefully by September, that'll be fresh and new and we can have another ribbon cutting. Flash Road Basketball Court is in contract negotiation phases, so hopefully we'll be breaking ground on the Flash Road Basketball and Tennis Court in September sometime. We also, the legislation regarding the borrowing for the sewer main project is moving right along. So we're hoping to put that out to bid in the next month and award sometime in September. We have gotten our construction plans have been approved by DEP at this point. So that's a great next step and we're moving right along there too. We've completed our interviews for the assistant accountant position. And we are going to be going through, Allison and I will be evaluating those and hopefully picking a candidate and making an offer. So hopefully we'll have a new assistant accountant. That position will be filled in the next couple, within the next month as well, which will be great because she's been working more or less alone, since for a few months now. As mentioned earlier, our new recycling barrels will be delivered by the end of August. So once those are delivered to your home, you must use those barrels. Those are the only barrels that will be collected by Waste Management. and there'll be information about what can be, we're not changing. It's still single stream. It's all the same material that you've always been able to put out, just needs to go inside that barrel. And then we'll have some information about what you can do with your old barrel. And we're working, on our unveiling of the new town website. As I mentioned, we were hoping to get it done in the middle of July. There's just some last minute tweaks we're working on. It takes some time, but fingers crossed, it'll be launched very soon. And then lastly, we also posted a survey. Our intern, Olivia Cook, one of her center projects as our intern has been to look into a farmers festival, a little bit different than a farmers market. The idea is more to create an event, something where residents can go and maybe bring their kids, and there's some painting class or something for kids to do, and then while you're there, there's also a farmer's market that you can go table to table and shop for local products. So we put a survey out. It's on our website. I think we already got over 100 responses. Looking for folks interested in either volunteering or what type of things they'd like to see available, whether it be on the event side or the market side. So that's a new initiative that we're working on as well, and want to thank Olivia, our intern, for taking the lead on that.
Excellent.
That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. A lot of good news in there, so that's great.
A lot of good news.
I asked Mark today, I said, even though this is like the slower part of the year, it seems like busier than ever. Like it's going to be Thanksgiving before you know it. I said, did you feel the same way? He said, yep, it never ends. So
Never a dull moment.
Never a dull moment.
Yeah, good. One thing I wanted to mention was yesterday there was a committee meeting of the state legislature at the State House on an amendment to the so-called Dover Amendment that was submitted by our Rep. Peter Capano. There were a couple Nahanters that submitted testimony in favor of this amendment. Essentially what this amendment does is amend the Dover Amendment to require religious and educational nonprofit institutions to abide by wetlands laws and natural resource area requirements. So I'm hoping that that committee reports out favorably on this proposed amendment. I think it's, in my opinion, it's a matter of fairness that these institutions should abide by the same environmental regulations as you and me and every other business in the Commonwealth. So we'll see what happens.
Did they schedule a vote on that?
Not quite sure what the timing is on their decision.
Typically they won't schedule a vote for it. So I'm assuming no. I'm assuming they didn't schedule a vote yet.
Okay.
There's a date by which they have to make a decision on whether to report bills out of their committee. And it's usually in the fall of the second year of the legislative term. But are they in their second year? No, elections were just this past year, right? State elections?
Not quite sure.
I don't remember.
I think they'd be in second year.
how to remember. So it could be in a few months that they have to report by.
Like you said, Tony, all they do is vote it out of the committee, then it goes on to the next
Right.
step and then to the next
Right.
step.
Right.
This will be being discussed for the next number of years.
How long can that take, Mark?
Well, Tony's been at this longer than I have, but it can take several years. They typically what happens is it sort of gets put into limbo someplace. and just
Well,
never.
It's a 2-year cycle. The legislative process is a 2-year cycle. So if it doesn't get through both branches and to the governor's desk, it doesn't happen, and the process starts all over again.
Right.
And I think that's what happened. I think this is the second year
Yeah,
or second term that this bill has been filed.
that's correct. They had a hearing on this last year as well, which did not make it out of committee favorably, I think, but hopefully it will this time.
Right.
All right, next item on the agenda, unless Mark or Gene, do you have any other
Nope.
straggling
No.
topics? All right, so citizens forum is next. Do we have anything in the chat, Tony?
Nothing in the chat. So if anyone on the call is interested in addressing the board, just unmute yourself, announce your name and address.
I see a hand up on the screen.
Okay. I'm asking to unmute. You have to unmute on your end, Heather. Or type it in the chat. I can try and read for you.
Or if you- Heather, if you wiggle your mouse down by the bottom of the screen, you should see a little chat thing pop up. Similarly, on the left side of your screen, if you wiggle your mouse down near the bottom of the screen, you should see your mute button on the left side of your screen.
She said she did find the chat, said that she's having trouble unmuting. So Heather, if you want to write your question in the chat, I can read it for you. While she's doing that, if anybody else has a question, please feel free to unmute yourself or write it in the chat and with your name and address.
Heather, you might have your keyboard itself probably has a microphone mute button, so check that one too. It's up in the top row of the keyboard typically. Anything else anybody else in the chat, Tony?
No, Heather just wrote she's trying to unmute now, but I don't know, it's not happening.
All right. Well, Heather, if you're still there, maybe you can email your question. Looks like Heather is off of the Zoom call. All right. So Heather, please email your question in, and we'll give you an email response since we're having technical difficulties now. So we are going to adjourn into executive session. I'll make a motion. I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to enter into executive session pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, Paragraph 21A, 3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation, Northeastern University Marine Science Center, 430 Nahant Road, Nahant. If the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. I do declare having an open meeting will have a detrimental effect on the negotiating body, and we will not be returning to open session after executive session. Is there a second on that motion?
Second,
Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I.
Josh Antrim, aye. Thank you, everyone, and,
Oh, can you hear me?
oh, we can hear you.
That was embarrassing. I had to have my teenagers come in here and help me.
That's what they're for.
Sorry, everybody. So I just wanted to comment about the Farmers Market Festival, and I've already filled up the survey. I think it's like such an amazing and positive thing for Nahant, and I was really excited to see it on the internet. I'd love to help in any way if Olivia wants to start pulling together a committee. I did the open studios last year. There were 29 like working, living residents who are artists in the community. And I think a festival like this, once you bring in music and food, the culinary arts, just has a really great potential to bring the community together. So I wanted to thank everybody for that idea, because it's something I've been passionate about for many years. And I would just love to volunteer my time and also be an artist at this as it moves forward.
That's great. Thank you, Heather. We're at the end of July, so I mean, obviously, we wish we would have moved a little bit further along earlier in the summer, but our hope is to maybe at least do one before the end of the summer, and then maybe we get back to the drawing board over the winter time, and then we could do one a month, next summer, or two a month, or something like that. That's
And even
if you're interested.
Yeah, I mean, even if I was kind of thinking about if I should try to do the open studios again this year in December, because it was such a good community event. People seemed to be really excited about it. The artists had a successful day, and the small business that were included. If Olivia wants to try to do something around Christmas time and, incorporate, the artists who work at their homes and also maybe the small businesses, I would love to talk more about it.
Yeah, let's talk more about that. I know we approved an event request for the women's club to do.
Yeah, and I'm involved with that too.
Town hall.
Yep. It would be outside of that. I know a lot of people travel over Thanksgiving Day weekend.
Yeah.
And a lot of the artists really enjoyed showing their work in their own spaces. And I've been talking to the women's club as well about it. So, I would never want, that's such a tradition in Nahant. I would never want to interfere with that. And I've been involved with that for many, many years too. But it's just a thought if Olivia wanted to try to do something before the end of the year.
That's great. I appreciate it. Yeah, we met with the Greater Lynn Chamber of Commerce executive director as well on this, and we've been, we really want to separate ourselves from just like a typical farmers market and make it more of like a community event where kids can come and, like I talked about earlier, maybe do like a painting class or whatever type of event, and then while
kind of like a Nahant arts vibe. Like that.
You also have the opportunity to do some shopping while you're there. So
yeah,
that's great that you're interested. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
All right, thanks for the supportive comments, Heather.
Good night.
Night. Okay, roll call vote on adjourning into executive session.
I think you already did it.
All right, I think you're right. That sounds familiar. Good night, everyone. Thank you for listening, and our next meeting is scheduled for August 18th.
All right, give me a second here. I'll get this going.